All right, guys, ready to start our new lesson here. And we're always going to try and start out with this I can statement. All right, so kind of hard to read up there right now. Maybe I'll shut this window. That'll help a little bit. But here we go. I can.
I can.
Understand parentheses.
Understand parentheses.
And solve order of operations problems.
And solve order of operation problems.
Involving parentheses.
Involving parentheses.
So guys, when we have these word problem, number sentences with these on there, with these parentheses, we're going to want to know exactly what to do with them, okay? And how to handle that. So we're just going to look at a few examples here and practice a little bit. You guys will get a chance then to practice also and ask questions and talk with each other. All right, so we're going to look at some simplified ones first. And we're going to talk about kind of how to stay organized when you do this. All right, so I'm going to walk through and model on number one here, and I'll make it bigger so I can write it out here. And you guys are going to have all kind of work room on this worksheet to do this, where you can show your work. Okay. All right, so the first problem, when we're talking about, first of all, we want to learn how to talk like mathematicians talk. Okay, so if I'm going to read this one, excuse me, they should say 8, shouldn't it? I wrote 18. You guys are going to say that. You already caught that on me, didn't you? Paying attention. I like it. Okay. Matthew, you got something?
I have the answer.
Okay. Well, let's hold up on that. Okay, because again, these are going to get more complex, so we want to make sure we kind of understand the process here. So when I read this, I'd say we're going to take 8 times or multiply that by the quantity of 18 divided by 6. Usually when you see parentheses, guys, you could say the quantity of. Okay, because that is usually what we do first with parentheses. Okay, parentheses you're going to do first. Now we'll get into this a little bit more as we get going this year later on. You'll hear us say PEMDAS a lot. Some of you may have heard that, and we're talking about order of operations. Okay, this is just an acronym that stands for different things. Right now we're dealing with a P for parentheses. Okay, and that's the first thing you do when you see a problem that's got multiple operations. Because if we didn't, everybody would be doing stuff different. Different times, different orders, everybody get a different answer. So a long time ago, and again, I don't know all the reasoning behind all of that, there's a certain order that we solve things in, so everybody's kind of on the same page. Okay? So when we see the P in this PEMDAS, that stands for parentheses. Do it first. Now, we'll spend a lot of time on this later in the year and get a lot more complex. But E will stand for exponents, and then the M and D stand for multiply and divide. And we'll find out you have to go from left to right, which means you don't always multiply first. If you see division when you're going from left to right, you can do it first. But it's all multiplying or dividing from left to right. And then the last things we do, guess what the A and the S stand for?
Add and subtract.
Add and subtract from left to
right.
And that's where kids start to get confused sometimes. We're not even getting to that today. Our goal is just we know what to do with parentheses. Okay, so a lot of you guys are doing very well on this already. Sometimes we'll get brackets, which is kind of like a double parentheses. I'll show you that in a second. It looks funny, but actually it kind of makes it simpler when you get these because it tells you what to do first. Okay, so again, very basic here. When I look, I'm not taking 8 times 18 first. That's not in parentheses, right? What do I have to do first, everybody? Anybody?
18.
Good. 18 divided by 6. Now, I like to stay organized here. So I'll do 18 divided by 6, and I'll get 3. And I make what I call an upside-down triangle to help me stay organized. So after I do it, guys, I'm going to cross it off and know my first step, I've done parentheses. Okay, and a lot of times, I'll just cross that off there too to remind myself that I've already done that step. Then I would check for exponents. Well, we don't have any. Don't have to worry about it. Now it's multiply or divide left to right, or add subtract after that. But guys, we only have one thing left, right? So we don't have to go really through that whole process. Guys, I like to rewrite. After I get this, what's left? 8 times 3. I like to rewrite, so when I get down here, there's my answer. Now multiplied or divided left to right. There's only one thing, so I didn't have a choice. And I've got that upside down triangle. And I even circle them sometimes. And I see the answer should always be down here. And I say, on this line, I did one step of my order of operations. Here's my next step. And sometimes these will start to get very big, and they may be 5, 6, 7 steps when we get longer number sentences. Okay? We'll get to that later. But right now, guys, very basic. Do parentheses first. I see that I did it first. I crossed it out. Okay? So again, this is more of an organizational technique. and then I get my answer down here, and we're ready to go on that. Again, pretty basic, right? Okay, something to add on or question, Matthew?
That's not an upside down triangle. That's a teacher.
It's a what?
A teacher.
Okay, there's different stuff you could call stuff, right? Okay, but just make it simple. We'll call it that upside down triangle method. And guys, this is stuff I want you to try when you're doing examples here in a little bit on your desk, so I can see that you're doing one step at a time. Guys, you probably wouldn't have to do it here to get the answer right, because they're just only 1 or 2 steps. You start getting 7 or 8 things, and then you get out of whack and unorganized, and you can't tell if you're following the steps. Organization becomes a big deal. Okay? All right, let's look at another one. Any questions on this one? Again, what I like seeing now is most of you are slanted, and I'm seeing that eye contact pretty consistently. And I'm seeing that nodding, because your whole goal today is to make sure I can understand parentheses completely, which I think some of you are already at, which is a good thing. Okay? All right, let's look at another one. So that was that example number 1 right there. And you guys are going to get this sheet later, and we'll try a couple and see if you guys match up in your group to get a little practice. And then we'll let you get to your seesaw activity to see where you're at. In a regular lesson, too, on the days, then if we're a day, we would have a home link, right, with a homework like you've had in the past that'll practice these skills. Okay? So we'll talk about that later. All right, let's do the next one. Actually, let's change and look at like number 6 here. So let's try and read this together, guys. Let's practice how we would say this. Okay? You guys remember what we say when we have parentheses? The quantity of. Okay, so let's start with that. Ready? Go. The quantity of 20 divided by 2 multiplied by 3. So when you hear that quantity of, that's what we know that we got to know the value. That's the value of what's inside it. So guys, what do I do first? 20 divided by 2. And this time it came at the beginning from left to right, so it's probably even simpler than the first one where it was at the end. Everybody, 20 divided by 2?
10.
10. Upside down triangle, rewrite. So I've got 10 times 3. Everybody? Boom, and we're done. It's 30. Again, upside down triangle. Simple, because there's only, really, we did 2 steps, right? That's all it took. All right. So let's look how that changes. We remember this answer equals 30, right? But let's look how this changes if I move the parentheses around. Okay, same problem, right? 20 divided by 2 times 3. But what if I put the parentheses over here? Let's see what happens. Not taking 20 divided by 2 anymore, am I? So this just is a little bit different. What do I do first? Quantity of 2 times 3, which is what, everybody? 6. So now I rewrite. So now I'm left with 20 divided by 6, and that's not a whole number, is it? Okay, so if I'm going to do 20 divided by 6, I can show my work if I want. I know 6 goes into 23 times, that's 18. And I have 2 left. We could put a decimal and put a 0 and keep going. We'll get into that. Or we could see that I have 2 left out of a group of, and I call that dividing and making a V. I have 3 full groups of 6 out of 20, but I have 2 left over. Now, a lot of times you guys would just put 3 remainder 2, right? You got 3 remainder 2. We'll get into this eventually, but really that's 3 and 2/6. Anybody know what that would be in simplest form? What's 2/6 the same as?
1/3.
We get it to 1/3. Okay, so really the answer to this is 3 and 1/3 would be your best answer. But for now, guys, we'll just put, we haven't got into that kind of stuff, 3 remainder 2. And that's way different than 30. So you can see doing them in a different order and moving those parentheses around changes things a lot. Okay, so this problem is tougher than this problem probably just because the answer didn't end up a whole number. But if you know what to do first, that's the whole goal today. Okay, then we got to do the math part right. Okay. All right, what if I have this? Okay, one more thing to look at before we practice a little. And this will look a little funny. All right. Now we have parentheses like we did before. Again, still seeing all eyes here, right? One more thing here to add on. You know what these are called?
Brackets.
These are our brackets. You know why we have those?
It's like it's the extended part of parentheses.
It's kind of like parentheses, but if we put parentheses again, let's see what this would look like. Doesn't that look kind of funny having two parentheses right beside each other?
Yeah.
The quote marks.
Kinda, yeah, the bigger quote marks. Okay, so we do brackets. And guys, all you need to know about brackets is that they are parentheses. That means do them first, right? They're just like parentheses. But I have parentheses and a bracket.
You do.
So you do the parentheses within the parentheses first, you bet. So I would have to do what on my first step?
3 minus 2.
Okay, so again, if I'm trying to stay organized in my upside down triangle method, 3 minus 2 is? And then I'm going to rewrite, guys, because it'll get messy when these start to get long and it gets more complex. So what do I have left? That became 1. Don't I still have 4 plus that? And I'm going to keep it in brackets because that's what they had. But I could put parentheses there, right? It would be the same thing. Times 5. So second step, rewrite. What's left?
Plus 1.
This is, you do brackets, okay, same as parentheses. So 4 plus 1 is?
5.
Rewrite. 5 times 5 is?
25.
And cross it out one step at a time. And again, notice how it works down and gets smaller into kind of the triangle look if you're staying organized. And guys, another reason I like that is when I'm coming around looking at your desk, or your whiteboards, or your homework, if I just see an answer, I just see random stuff done all over, I can't tell where you've made a mistake at. If I see this, I can see right where you went wrong and went out of order because of how organized you are. You'll find out getting organized is a big thing. Okay, so when we practice here in a little bit, we're going to practice doing some of these, and I'm going to have to walk around, I'm going to look and see your upside down triangles and make sure you're doing that. Because trust me, when we get going harder and they start to get pretty advanced, you're going to see that staying organized is a huge part of this. Okay, so we always want to do that when we're doing our math. Okay, all right, so what we're going to do now, guys, I'm going to hand out some practice problems. We're going to do a few. I'm going to tell you which ones to do. You're going to try them on your own. We're going to talk a little bit, make sure you guys all agree with each other and practice our accountable talk, and then we'll get on the seesaw to practice and some individual practice after that, okay? All right, so I'm going to end the video here. That's the end of the new concept. Now we'll get a little practice in, okay?